Today's topic is about how to manage your invoices in TallyPrime. So this session is organized by Asset Integrated Info System. Asset Integrated Info System is a 5-star Tally partner, and they are into this business for the past 27 years. So in Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, they are the #1 5-star Tally partner. If you need any support on Tally, TDL or Tally related supports, you can reach us through assetintegrated.com. So today's topic is about how to manage your invoices in TallyPrime, and I have only small instruction. Accountants are the business owners who is participating in this session. I want you to keep your audios muted and your videos also to be in the muted stage. If you want to ask any doubts, you can unmute and you can ask your doubts, and there is an option to chat. You can ask your questions in the chat box also. At the end of the session, you'll be given time to ask your doubts. You can ask your doubts related to Tally accounts, GST, TDS, income tax, etc. Especially if there is any problem you are facing on Tally, you can post your queries. We'll help you to solve those problems through our support executives. Right. So in today's topic, we are going to discuss about these 3 points. One very important thing is generating invoice from TallyPrime. So you know about TallyPrime. As soon as you pass sales transaction, you can generate the invoices from TallyPrime. And I'm going to help you to customize your invoices through F12 configuration. That is, there are companies, they may be expecting some other additional fields on the invoices. Okay, so some of them are available by default, which you can activate through F12 configuration. Suppose if there is any feature which is not available as per your expectation, there is an option to customize and get it. I'm going to help you on how to customize and get your needed features in your invoices. That is point number 1 we are going to discuss. Number 2, zero valued entries and free samples transactions accounting and generating invoice. See, in accounting, when you are maintaining accounts in Tally, every transaction should have some value, right? But when there is a transaction related to free samples, you are planning to give free products to your customers, then the transaction should be recorded, means you can use zero valued entries option. I'm going to help you to get that zero valued entries. And finally, price management. See, some of the companies, they'll be having multiple products and different price levels. For example, for wholesale, they'll be having different prices, and for the retail, they'll be having a different prices. Even in the wholesale itself, quantity-based pricing systems will be there. For example, a customer is asking for 100 products at different prices will be there. If he is asking for 200 products, 300 products, and the price will be different. At the same time, customer-wise pricing also will be there. Okay, region-wise pricings will be there. Suppose a customer is buying from Andhra Pradesh, customers buying from Telangana, customers buying from Maharashtra. Depends on the zone-wise also. Sometimes we used to fix prices for our customers. So I'm going to teach you how to fix different prices for a particular product and how to manage it through the invoices, because we don't need to remember all the prices. So that we can manage through TallyPrime itself. These 3 topics we are going to discuss. Of course, there are a lot to discuss about the invoices. Okay, so but we are going to discuss only these 3 points in today's session. You know very well that Asset is conducting a webinar on an every week basis, Tuesday and Thursday, continuously. Every week we'll be having webinars between 4 to 5 every week, Tuesday and Thursday. Now let us get into the session. What is invoice? Okay, it's a brief note for the accountants. Invoice is nothing but an acknowledgement for the transfer of goods and services, right? We need an acknowledgement for every transaction. See, the accounting starts from bookkeeping, right? That is nothing but recording of the business transaction. Similarly, when there is a sales, it's supposed to be recorded, okay? Because we just want to know to whom the goods are sold, because the money has to be received from the customer, and what are the materials sold, at what price it has been sold, what is the total value of the invoice, or some other information related to the particular transaction should be mentioned in the particular sales entry. Okay, so the same will be printed and given to the customer as invoice. It's nothing but an evidence we are creating for the particular transaction. But very importantly, it is an evidence for the legal action. Okay, for example, if you have a GST, it is compulsory that you have to issue invoice to your customer. So issue of invoice is nothing but supply of goods. Okay, supply of services. That means you are making some transaction to your customer. Okay, you are creating some taxable moment, right? Then you have to create an invoice and it should be given to the customer. Then only the tax implication will arise, tax levies will arise, the liability will arise, then the government will get a revenue. So you're supposed to issue an invoice to the customer when there is a supply of goods and also when there is a supply of services. And finally, it is very much important. It is nothing but an acknowledgement or an evidence for the legal action also. For example, you are giving material to the customer and the customer fails to make a payment, you have an evidence that you have supplied goods or services to the customer. That is nothing but an invoice, right? So invoice is an acknowledgement, is an evidence for the various reasons, right? Invoice versus tax invoice. There is a difference between a normal invoice and a tax invoice. Okay, don't take this as a theory class. Like, I'm not teaching you a theory, but you should know the particular terms. That's the reason I'm explaining you. Invoice is nothing but a general document for the transfer of goods and services. But when it coming to the tax invoice, it is playing a vital role. Suppose your business as GST. So previously it was VAT, service tax, or central excise, etc. But from 1st of July 2017 onwards, we have a single indirect tax that is called GST. Suppose your organization has GST. Suppose your supply is a taxable supply. Suppose your product has taxable moment, right? Then you're supposed to issue invoice, which is called tax invoice, right? It is also equal to the normal invoice, but the simple difference is that invoice will carry an information related to taxes. So whether you're charging CGST or SGST, or whether you're charging IGST, so all those informations will be available in the invoices. Even if you are selling goods to your customer who is a B2B, who is also doing a business, then you're supposed to issue tax invoices with the particulars of your customer name, address, and the place of supply, and his GST number, etc. Okay, that's the difference between a normal invoice and a tax invoice. But you have to ensure that if your business has GST, then you're supposed to issue tax invoice. Even if the sales is a taxable supply, then you're supposed to issue tax invoice. There is another word called bill of supply. Okay, it is also invoice. Bill of supply is also an invoice, but the simple difference is, suppose a dealer who's already registered with GST, but now is selling the goods or is doing the supply which is non-taxable. So there is a difference between a taxable supply and non-taxable supply. Okay, it's a normal sales, we call it as invoice. If it is a taxable supply, we call it as tax invoice. At the same time, if a registered dealer, GST registered dealer, is doing some supply to the customer, but the supply is nothing but a non-taxable supply, then he can issue bill of supply. So it is also an invoice, but bill of supply should never carry the details of taxes. Okay, suppose I'm running a business, I'm doing some sales of electronic items. Okay, in between that, I'm just doing a reimbursement from a customer. Okay, reimbursement is nothing but I'm not charging anything extra. So I paid some transport charges on behalf of the customer, something. Okay, on behalf of the customer, I'm meeting some loading charges. Exactly, but I'm not going to charge extra. So exact amount I'm going to reimburse from the client. So we can issue bill of supply because it is not a taxable event, right? So these are all the different type of invoices. Similarly, we have another word called delivery note. So there is a difference between delivery note and invoice. So delivery note, we call it as DC in short form. DC is not an invoice. We have to understand very clearly. DC is not an invoice. DC is just an acknowledgement for the transfer of goods. See, some companies have the habit of transferring the goods along with the DC because we need an acknowledgement for the transfer of goods. So they send the materials with the DC. Later, on acceptance from the customer only, they will raise invoice. But it has various meaning in the GST environment, but we have to be very careful. Suppose if I'm transferring the material alone, okay, I'm not transferring the ownership. I'm just transferring the material to the client. For various reasons, I can transfer. One for the supply reasons, I can transfer. One for the, for example, I'm the manufacturer of a particular electronic product. Okay. After the manufacturing, I'm sending the materials to my another vendor for testing purpose. So now I'm not selling the material. There is no transfer of ownership. There is no supply of goods. Now I'm going to send this material to my vendor just for the testing purpose. Or they test and they put a seal, okay, tested, ISI. It's kind of a testing purpose. I'm sending the material to my vendor's place, another vendor place. Okay. So because after doing the checking, the supplier is going to return the material. So I'm not going to sell the material. In that case, I should not raise invoice. Instead of that, I can prepare DC and send it to my vendor along with the material. So DC is different and invoice is different. You should understand very clearly, DC will not solve the purpose of invoice, right? Suppose if I'm preparing a DC, delivery note in Tally, it will affect your stock register. That means we can identify the movement of goods. That's all. So it's nothing but there is no ownership transfer. That means there won't be any effect on the books of accounts of a particular customer or a supplier. I'm just transferring the material. There is a possibility in future, if I raise invoice, then the ownership will be transferred. That's why I mentioned in the last sentence, delivery note is an incomplete document in the sales process. If it is a sales process, if it is a part of sales, then it is nothing but an incomplete process unless and until you issue invoice. There is no meaning for the particular transaction, right? So DC, we call it as a delivery note. It is DC. There is a difference between DC and invoice. And we are going to discuss about the invoices under RCM. Okay, so in GST, there is another word called RCM, reverse charge mechanism. I just want anyone to answer. Anyone knows about RCM or this word is new to you? Can anyone tell? Just mention in the chat box. If you know RCM, just mention yes in the chat box. If you know RCM, just mention yes in the chat box. Even if you don't know about RCM, mention no in the chat box. Yes, RCM is nothing but reverse charge mechanism. So in Tally, there is an option. Okay, so you should understand the meaning of RCM. So we can have a separate session for the RCM itself. Okay, so RCM is nothing but reverse charge mechanism. Suppose an organization like transport agencies. Okay, so they'll be issuing invoice to their suppliers. Their clients. So that invoice will have the information about RCM. That means that invoice is an RCM. So the buyer of particular product will be paying GST. Okay, suppose the supplier is registered under RCM. This case is mostly suitable to the transport agencies. Okay, suppose I am running a transport agency. I am doing some delivery services to my client. So I am not supposed to collect GST from my client. I can say it is an RCM. So that my client will be paying the GST for the values I have mentioned in the invoice. In today's session, I'm going to show you the sample invoice copy for the RCM organizations, right? And we are going to discuss in detail about the invoices and TallyPrime. So what are the importance? So how TallyPrime is going to make our work easier. So invoice is an auto-generated, okay? Invoice is auto-generated in TallyPrime based on the sales entry we pass. We don't need to spend a separate time to create an invoice in TallyPrime. If you pass a sales entry, automatically based on the information you're mentioning in the sales entry, you can generate an invoice. That is one thing. And the invoice and TallyPrime we can categorize into accounting invoice and inventory invoice. It is very simple. I will show you that also. Accounting invoice is issued by the service organization. So there are organizations like auditor office, engineer's office, architect office, service contractor, labor contractor, security agencies. Okay, so these people will be having placement agencies. They'll be having a service. They don't supply any goods. So then the invoice is called accounting invoice. That means there won't be any stock item or the quantity, rates of a particular quantity, etc. in the invoices. It's simply an accounting invoices. Suppose a trading organization is issuing an invoice, the invoice will be carrying the information about the inventories and its quantity, rate, etc. So that is called inventory invoice. So there are two types of invoices in Tally, and very important thing in generating invoices, F12 configuration. So by default, Tally is having an invoice format, and there are basic informations available by default in the invoice. Suppose if you want some additional fields, okay, there are a lot of additional informations you can add, additional fields you can add in the invoice. So those are available in the F12 configuration. You can enable that F12 configuration in the voucher entry itself or while generating the invoice. In the sense, while taking the printout of invoice, while exporting the invoice in PDF format, or you're sending the invoice to your clients in the WhatsApp or email format, etc. So that's what is the next thing we are going to discuss, that is the invoice communications. See, earlier we pass the entry, we generate invoice, we take a printout, we put our seal and signature, and we deliver that invoice to the customer. Either we directly go and hand over the invoice to the customer, or we get an acknowledgement in the second copy or third copy, or we send it through couriers. That was the traditional system. But nowadays, most of the things have changed after this COVID-19. Okay, so we have stopped sending the physical copy of the invoice. Instead of that, we are sending the PDF invoices in the email or WhatsApp itself. And now there is an advancement in TallyPrime that you can send your invoices through WhatsApp itself. Directly, you can reach your customer's WhatsApp and send it through WhatsApp also, right? So we are going to discuss all those things. And finally, there are two more topics we are going to discuss. I said, one is the free sample invoices. To manage your free samples, you have to activate the zero valued entries. Suppose there are businesses, suppose you're buying one product, they'll be giving one product as free. Or if you're buying a product more than two numbers, like buy two, get one free. Most of the textile shops, you can find this advertisement. Okay, buy five, get one free. Buy 10, get five free. Kind of a free for a particular item. So the rates will be for one item, but the delivery of item will be two. Quantity wise, it will differ. So that also we are going to discuss, and we are going to discuss a lot of topics in today's session. And price list management. As I said earlier, you can fix the prices on the client basis or the quantity basis also, so that you can manage your invoices in that way, right? I'm taking this company for sample transactions, right? So we are not going to activate anything in the for the basic invoices. As soon as you pass a sales entry, you can generate an invoice. So we will see the basic invoice. I'm going to pass one sales entry for the invoice number 2. It's a normal sales entry I'm going to pass. Now you have to see that there is an option called name of the item. Okay, that means you are passing invoices with the inventory. Okay, it is called inventory invoices. Okay, so this changing of invoice pattern is available in the change mode. You can refer the right hand side, Control H, the change mode tab. So there is an option for your accounting invoice or your item invoice. There are two formats available. Right now we are using the item invoice. It should be used by the trading organization. That means when there is an option called name of the item, you can select only the stock items. Okay. Suppose there is an option called particulars, then you cannot select the stock item. I'll show you that also. I'm changing the invoice pattern into accounting invoice. Just see there is an option called particulars. That means we cannot select the stock items. We can select the ledgers only. So this is applicable. For example, I'm running a chartered accountancy office. I can say like audit fee. The ledgers like construction charges, like engineering services, architect services, service charges, labor contracts, kind of accounting terminologies you can use. You cannot use the inventories. Again, I'm changing change mode, item invoice. Now I'm selecting a particular customer and I'm going to pass one simple sales transaction. Just show you the invoice. You know about passing sales entry, so I'm not going to concentrate on that. I'm just passing one sales entry to show you the default invoice format. For example, I'll make all these options no. We'll see the format, right? I just passed one sales entry. I can take a printout of the invoice so that you can view the default invoice format. This is the default invoice format. It will be very simple. Okay, sometimes you can say like a black and white invoice. So it's a simple invoice. Of course, it's a professional invoice. It is accepted in the statutory environment also. Because see the title, it is called tax invoice. I'm able to see my company name and address, invoice number, date, and the particulars of the delivery, and my customer's name and address and GST. If I created the ledger with the address and contact details, that will come here. And the item with this HSN code, rate, amount, CGST, SGST. And finally, the invoice should carry the value of the invoice, and the GST, which is applicable on the particular invoice, should be available. At the end of the screen, we can say like the company name and the authorized signatory details, etc. You can take a printout, you can put seal and signature and give it to the customer. There are some advancements, I will talk about that also, but you have to understand that this is the format of tax invoice. Okay, it's a simple invoice which is automatically generated from Tally. Now the question is, what are the changes I can make? Okay, what are the changes I can make it in the invoice? We can make a lot of changes in this invoice. For example, see, there are delivery particulars in this area. Okay, buyer's order number, buyer's order date, dispatch date, dispatch document number, okay, destination, terms of delivery. If there is anything related to your order, delivery, dispatch, etc., you can mention everything here. Okay, suppose if there is nothing related to that, you can remove. If you want, you can include. If you don't want that, you can remove that field. Okay, similarly, you can add the stock items here. There is no information about the rate. There is no information about the quantity, sorry. Okay, we can include the column for quantity. Anything you can include and you can remove if it is available in the F12 configuration, right? So now I'm taking a printout of this invoice. There is an option called configure. The same is available in the F12 configuration also. So most of the Tally users knows about F12 configuration, which is the last option on the Tally screen. So right hand side, the last option is F12 configuration. First option is F1 help menu. The last option is F12 configuration. Now you have this much configuration. See how much configurations are there, which is nearly 80 configurations. Okay. So even some more is hidden. So you can see all the configuration. Now it is around 90 configurations. Okay. See, I can change the format of invoice also. Earlier, what we have seen is the advanced format. You can make it as a simple format also, and customer seal and signature. See, I'll show you the invoice format once again. Suppose now you are going to sign this invoice and send it to the customer. Later, the customer has to return a copy of invoice saying that I received the material. You can give a space for this customer also. In the left hand side, you can mention the customer seal and signature or customer signature space also. For example, I'll make it possible. Configuration, second line, show customer seal and signature. That's all. Now it is configured. Now you see the configurations effect. So earlier we have saw right hand side our seal and signature. Left hand side there was no information about customer seal and signature. Since it is activated in the F12 configuration, now you can have customers seal and signature also. Right? If you send more than one copy to the customer, maybe probably the original copy will be retained by the customer. In the second copy, customer may put seal and signature. If he received the material in a proper condition, they'll put seal and signature. Right? You can have that copy and you can file it for the future references. Okay, sometimes what happens, we deliver the material to the customer. Customer may say that they have not received the material. So in that cases, you can keep this as an acknowledgement and you can show them when there is a issue with the customer, right? So you can have the additional fields, whatever is available in the configuration. So the configurations, you can have it at the time of preparing invoice also. Otherwise, while taking the printout of invoice, printout or you are exporting the invoice, you can do the configuration. For example, there is no quantity information in the invoice. I'll show you the invoice once again so that you'll have some clarity. See, there is no quantity information. Only rate is mentioned. Okay. So we have sold 2000 quantities. So 2000 into 4000 rupees. So quantity information, if you want, you can activate it from the, sorry, F12 configuration. Show quantity, yes. Now you see there is another column included for the quantity information. Like this, we have nearly 90 plus configurations to make your invoice information perfect. Okay, so you can keep all the information in the invoice itself. Whatever you want to communicate to the customer, which is related to the particular transaction. See, if you want to remove some fields, for example, I'll remove the dispatch related information. See, it is categorized. Earlier in TallyPrime and all, the configurations were not categorized. Now it is categorized. Voucher details, statutory details, for example, like your GST GST number, GST percentages, whatever you want, you can activate it. Okay. Header information, company details, party details, order and dispatch details. For example, I don't want the order reference, I don't want the order detail, I don't want the dispatch detail, because the customer is going to take a delivery on their own risk. So I don't need to mention all the dispatch related information. See, the place has become blank. Some companies, whatever the additional information they want to maintain, they can keep it here. Okay, so they can put this seal, something related to the dispatch, something related to the payment terms. They can put a seal here also, right? Whatever they want to make within this F12 configuration limit, they can make it. And apart from that, I said, if you want to customize your invoice, you can customize, right? Everything you can customize. For example, this is the default invoice format. You want to make some changes. Okay, you want the company name to be appeared in the right hand side, your company name, or you want the company's logo. You want the company invoices to be printed on the kind of a lettered format. Okay, or you don't want to keep the customer's name here. You want to change the customer's name into the right hand side. Okay, so whatever the changes you want to make, you can make it through TDL. Okay, so in every session, I'm just giving an update about the TDL. TDL is nothing but the Tally definition language, which helps the Tally users to change, to customize their invoices, right? Not only the invoices, even the reports also you can customize for your requirement. Some accountants may not aware of this. You can modify your Tally invoices and Tally reports also. As we are discussing about the invoices today, I'll just show you some sample invoice. Okay, for example, this is our company invoice. We issue this kind of invoice to the customer, which is colorful and attractive. Okay, so as we are celebrating 25th year or 25th year logos here, our company name is printed on the top with the website details colorfully, not in the black and white. Okay, our company logo, color patterns, and the customer details is printed here. Invoice number is given full attention. Okay, so this type of customizations you can make. Okay, even the second line, the bottom of the invoice. Okay, it is like our header, footer informations we have mentioned, our seal and signatures. So we can customize the invoices in this manner. Okay, even the seal and signature also, you can make it available by default. So nowadays what we are doing is some of the companies, they take a printout, they put a seal and signature manually and they send it to the customer. Instead of that, you can define your seal and signature in the invoice. Okay, that means when you are taking a printout of invoice, it comes along with the seal and signature. What you're supposed to do is you have to get in touch with your Tally dealer. Okay, so they'll be designing the seal and signature for your company. That means you can give a sample of your seal and signature to your Tally dealer. They'll keep it available in your invoices. When you're taking a printout of invoices or you export the invoices in PDF format, your invoice comes with the seal and signature. So you no need to spend time to put a seal and signature. Okay, so by default, the invoices will be, because earlier we used to send the invoices to the clients, okay, either by courier or personally we go and hand over the invoices to the clients. Nowadays, we are sending invoices through WhatsApp or email. That has become very easy to communicate to the client. So in that cases, you don't need to take a printout, put a seal and signature, again scan the invoice and upload it in the WhatsApp or email. Better you can configure it by default through the TDL, right? That is also available in Tally. Either you can use the F12 configurations effectively, or you can do the customization, whatever you want to customize, right? So this is how we are going to generate invoices. So sometimes this invoice patterns, invoice numbers also you can customize. We can do the masters. Okay, so there is a master, alter, voucher type, and sales. I usually suggest the webinar participants not to implement anything based on this webinar immediately. If you are a junior accountant, better you consult with your seniors, better you consult with your tax consultant or chartered accountants before you implement. Or you get in touch with us before you implement anything what we are teaching to you. Okay, so because organization to organization, the needs will differ. So you should not do anything by yourself. Get in touch with us or with your senior accountants or a consultant before you implement anything. So in this sales invoice, there is an option to define the voucher number pattern, whether you want the automatic numbering or the manual numbering or automatic and both manual you want to have it, whether you want to override the available option, everything you can define. Okay, for example, I'm just selecting like, so it is a error message because already we have some invoices. So do that in between that, in the earlier stage of the accounting year, you have to define everything. Now, if you want to change You change the voucher numbering also. For example, there is a field set or alter additional numbering details. So here I can edit my numbering pattern. So now the invoices are like 1, 2, 3 like that. Okay. Already what are the entries we have passed? Some of the sales entries we have passed. It is 1, 2 like that. So now we can define the numbering also. Go to the voucher types, select a particular voucher type, that is sales, and you can make it as static, and I can set or alter additional numbering details. Starting number, what are the starting number you want to have? 100 or 101 or 1 with this 3. If I mention 3, then the number will be 001, 002 like that. If you want the numbers to be prefilled, yes, I can say like 001. From first of which period you want the invoice numbering. For example, first of 2024. So starting number 1, and the prefix and suffix digits also we can have. For example, I can put my company name in the prefix. Okay. For example, my company name, I can make it as short form, applicable from 1st of April. My invoice should start with modern automation MA and /001. And at the end of the invoice, I just want to have /2024-25. But you have to ensure only one thing. The numbering should be less than 16 digits, not more than 16 digits. As per GST norms, the numbering should be less than 16 digits. See, now the invoice number has become MA 008 2024-25. So you just count the numbers. Okay, as per GST. Suppose if your invoice number is more than 16 digits, when you're filing a GSTR 1, then you'll get into problem. You'll get a error notification. So you have to ensure that the invoice numberings are less than 16 digits. It can be alphanumerical. You can have symbols like slash, hyphen, etc. But you have to ensure that the digits are totally less than 16, not more than 16, right? So this is how you are going to configure the invoice numbering. You can have it as an automatic numbering, or you can have it a manual numbering also, right? This is about invoices. Now, if you are running a service organization, then the organization will be issuing the service invoice to the client. There won't be any like inventories. So then you can change the mode. As I said already, change mode to accounting invoice. Then your invoice will carry only particulars, and you cannot select any stock items in this area. Now I'm selecting a customer name. For example, I can say installation charges. See, 1,000 rupees. Like hardware engineers, right? Their CCD camera installation service providers, auditors, architects, engineers. Okay, tuition teachers, hospitals can have this type of invoices. Simple thing is, they'll not use any inventory. It is nothing but an accounting invoice. Okay. Now I'll just invoice in the printable format, normal preview. You can see the difference. So it's a service invoice. Then there won't be any quantity column. There won't be any rate column. So in that scenario, you can remove this quantity and rates. For example, I'll get into that configuration. I'll remove the quantity. I'll remove the rate. See, earlier in ERP, we usually make it as yes or no. Okay, so we have to type yes or no. In the prime scenario, just enter. When you keep the cursor in the respective area, just mention enter. It automatically is converted to yes or no. Okay, so if you don't want the quantity and rate column, just make it as no. See, the quantity and rate is removed. Okay, so even the GST percentage, if you want, you can remove. HSN code, if you want, you can remove, because already there is one more place to mention the HSN code. So additionally, if you don't want to have multiple informations on the particular area, you can remove all those information, right? In fact, this is the commercial invoice. Okay, it's nothing but the advanced format. Even you can have the simple format for the service organization. Okay, instead of having multiple boxes, multiple information, see there is an option called simple invoice format. Okay, most of them are not using this invoice format. Actually, for the service organization, it's better to use the simple invoice format. If they want, they can use it. See, this is called simple invoice format. Okay, so instead of having multiple boxes, it is simple invoice format, right? Even I'm removing some more information like our HSN code, GST percentage. It looks very simple. If you prefer, you can have this type of invoice also for your service organization. Okay, right. So this is about the invoices for inventory and the service organization. I thought of very important section, that is for the invoices of RCM organization. Okay, I'll show you the invoice preview. You can see the difference. This is a service organization, that is a transport company issuing invoice to their clients. I'm changing the configuration. When you open more than one company, if any configuration is made, which will be applicable to another company also. So quantity and rates also I have activated. Just see, this is the invoice issued by a transport company, a company called Street Transports. So they are doing some transportation service to another company called Logistics Expeditors. Okay. Now, when they are issuing invoice, whatever the loading charges they want to collect, whatever the transportation charges they want to collect from the customer, they can collect. Okay. It doesn't mean that the company is not having a GST. Just see, this company is also having GST. The client is also having GST. But the service they are rendering for 4,17,680 is nothing but a RCM service. That means I can issue invoice. I cannot collect GST from my customer. Instead of I'm collecting GST from customer, I can insist my customer to make the payment. That is called RCM. Okay. Just see this line. This line, amount of tax subject to reverse charge. That means on 4,17,680, 5% GST supposed to be paid by the customer by themselves. Okay. Usually, whatever the taxes we are collecting from the customer is called forward charge mechanism. Okay. We don't call it as forward charge mechanism, but it is the type of forward charge mechanism. When there is a supply to the customer, we have to collect GST and pay it to the GST department, government, or whatever it is. But in this RCM scenario, we don't issue invoice to the client with the GST. Customers supposed to pay the GST by themselves. It's nothing but a tax on purchases for them. So this is called RCM invoices. This is also possible in Tally. That means there is no output tax liability, CGST or SGST. But we supposed to mention that the client supposed to pay this much of CGST and this much of SGST to the tax department by themselves. Okay. So are you able to follow? I think I'm clear on my statement. This is called RCM invoice. Okay. This dealer is registered under RCM category. That means he will not collect GST from the client and give it to the tax department. He will just mention it in the invoice that whatever he has supplied, for that the customer has to pay CGST and SGST by himself. That is called RCM method. So it is also possible in Tally, right? Right. Next important section, that is free samples. Okay, suppose I'm giving free samples to my customer, but I just want to mention it in the invoice because I just want to know the movement of goods. You can take the examples of textile shops or hardware shops. See, Dasarath Raju, your question is right. It said this is only for transport. See, I can say like not only the transport, whatever the companies having a RCM method. As of now, only the transport companies have RCM method. Okay, then they can alone use this option, not every company. So everyone has to collect and remit it to the government. But in case of transport, they can mention that in the invoice that they can pay by themselves. That means the customer has to pay by themselves. Okay, right. Now, coming to the free samples invoice. Okay, suppose I'm just passing some materials to my customer. Rent, we don't have RCM for the rent. No, that is, we don't issue invoice most of the cases. Suppose a landlord is not a registered dealer, but the tenant as a registered dealer, they may be paying rent with GST, that is RCM method, they will be paying. Okay, so in that cases, suppose the landlord is not giving the invoice, then there is no meaning. Suppose the landlord is giving invoice to the client saying that you can pay with RCM, then it is possible. Okay, so we can say like it's not about the rent or not about the job work. Okay, so it's about the RCM. If the company is registered under RCM, then they're supposed to issue invoice the RCM method. I think Manjula has mentioned some information. I'm not clear about it. We'll be in touch with you, madam. Right. So I thought of showing you the free sample invoices. So I'm just selling the material to the customer at free of cost. See, the hardware shops, the textile shops are the home appliances shops and all will be getting a free sample product from their supplier. So in that cases, suppose I'm sending one material to my customer at free of cost, but I want to account it because it should be reduced from my stock go down, and also I would like to make it as a cost for my organization. See, I'm just accepting this transaction. We have to careful on the GST environment also. Okay, so in GST environment, we are not supposed to give any materials to the customers at free of cost. First, at least we have to charge 1 rupee. Okay, recently I bought a mixer grinder from one famous household home appliances shop. Okay, they said, sir, there is a thermal flask free for this mixer grinder. Okay, I thought it is free, but they mentioned it in the invoice that thermal flask of 1 rupee, not more than that, just 1 rupee they have mentioned. I asked a question, why you are mentioning 1 rupee? Because they said I am not supposed to give at free of cost. At least some discounted prices they have to give. But in this scenario, I'm just mentioning that the invoice is posted at zero value. That means there is no value for the particular invoice, but there is no option to save this transaction, because when you're recording some transaction in Tally, it should have some value. Okay, so that is accounting rule is the books of accounts, we have to record the business transaction when there is a monetary value. When there is no value for the transaction, anyway, we don't record it. But practically, we just want to track the stock item. So we are going to record the transaction, because in future, I just want to know how many materials are transferred to the customer 360 smart solutions. So I just want to keep a track, but Tally will not allow you to record the transactions if it is zero value. So if you want to pass, literally, if you want to pass a zero valued entry, then you make some changes on your sales voucher type. You just give the instruction to Tally that you are going to pass zero valued entries, right? It is in the voucher type. See, most of the scenarios never refer the voucher types. Okay, like ledgers, group, stock items, we have a master called voucher types. What are the vouchers created in Tally? 24 vouchers are there. Receipts, payments, a journal, contra, stock journal, physical stock, like that. We have 24 voucher types. All those voucher types can be edited. If you want, you can make some changes on the voucher types, especially the sales voucher type. Okay, now I'm making a change in the sales voucher type, that is allow zero valued entries. That means I'm going to pass some sales transaction without value. That's all. I made a change. Now I can record this transaction without value. I'm just mentioning the quantity alone. I'm not going to mention any value for this transaction. Suppose if you have any scenario like this, you can use this. Okay, but in GST environment, we are not supposed to give, we are not supposed to do a supply without any value, right? Now I'm going to accept this transaction. You will not get any error transaction. You just refer it from your invoices. See, let's see the invoices. All the invoices will have value, but the final invoice which we have issued at zero value is not carrying any value. Okay, right? So this is called zero value entry. Similarly, there is a sales promotional activity like buy one, get one and all. We can have that through F11 features, right? F11 features as additional advanced features. So there is an option, use separate actual billed quantity columns in invoices. So if this is activated, then your invoice column is divided into two. See, refer this. I'm just selecting the party name. Now you can refer this quantity column. Quantity column is again divided into two, that is called actual and billed. Okay, now I'm going to select a particular product. I'm just giving actually 10 numbers. I'm planning to give it to my customer. That means buy 5, get 5 free, for example. That means actually I'm giving 10 products to my customer, but I'm going to charge only for 5. See it carefully. Actually, buy 5, get 5 offer. That means I'm going to charge for 5 numbers from my customer, but I'm going to deliver 10 numbers. So the reason for accounting like this, we just want to mention that the 10 numbers have been removed from our stock register. So there is a movement of 10 numbers, but the amount we are charging from the customer is 5 numbers. Okay. Now just check. I'm just getting that option from the F11 feature. I'll show you another possibilities we can try. For example, I just deactivated that option. I'm just selecting the customer and the quant. Now 5 numbers, 4,000 rupees. Okay, now again I'm selecting the same item, 5 numbers, but I'm not going to charge anything. Right? Just see the pattern. 5 numbers I'm charging, because sometimes you buy a refrigerator, get stabilizer free. Okay, buy a TV, get a new sound system free. Okay, sales order can be get actual and build, not used, build. We'll try it. We'll try it. Whether it is possible or not, we will try it. See, this type also you can try. That means a customer can understand that I'm not selecting GST and all. So customer can understand that for the first 5 numbers, you charge 4,000 each. So 20,000 is billed. For the next 5 numbers, you are not charging anything. That means you are giving it free of cost. Okay. So, or you can have an option like in the F11 features, enable separate actual and billed quantity columns, so that you will get 2 columns. One for the actual materials delivered, another one the amount we are charging from the customer. We are charging only for 5 numbers. Both the previous one and this one same. I'll open it from the invoice register. See, both are same. So in both the cases, you can refer by shift enter. I'm using shift enter. Okay. So 5 numbers is billed, but 10 numbers are delivered. Right? So in this way, you can manage your free samples and free gifts delivered with the invoices. Okay. And finally, I thought of you about the price list. Okay, so you have to understand this scenario. Suppose you are selling the goods to the customer, you have multiple materials and you have multiple prices. Okay, prices depends on the customer, prices depends on the product, prices depends on the quantity. You cannot remember all the prices. Some companies, they print and put it in the billing section. Okay, they keep it in Excel sheet, they print it and keep it under the table. Okay, so they may forget the prices. To avoid all these problems, to avoid all these situations, you can fix the price list. Okay, so just see it carefully. I can alter, say, go to the masters. There are various masters, and you have to enable show more, show inactive. Then only you will get all the masters available in Tally. In the inventory category, you can see price levels. There is an option called price levels. In my organization, I have 2 price levels. You would have experienced it in the provision shop also. If one person is coming, they'll be getting at less price. You are going to the shop, you'll be getting at more price. You can ask them, sir, for him, you are giving at 50 rupees. Why you are giving for 70 rupees? Simple thing, is a wholesaler. You are a retailer. Okay, so shop fellows will be getting at less price, no? So that is wholesale and say retail price differences. Now it is called price levels. Okay. Now I have two types of price levels: retail price level, wholesale price level. You can say like South India price, North India price, okay, or local price, or export price. That means a foreign customer, if you are giving, you can give it for the different prices. Kind of pricing levels you can have. Okay, once the pricing level is created, you can create a price list for the stock items, for all items. Okay, what is the retail price? I'm fixing the retail price applicable from 1st of August onwards. For the dim mode light, if they are buying 20 to one number, the price will be 4,000 or 5,000 will fix it. There is no discount. 1 to 50 numbers, if they are buying, I can say it is 4,900. Or more than 50 numbers, if they are buying, I can say the price will be 4,500 or 5,000 and 10% discount. For the second product, I can say if they are buying one number, then it is called 5,500. For more than one number to up to 50. So you can have multiple price levels. For example, 50, I can say it is 4,000, sorry, 5,450. There is no discount. More than 50, if they are buying, I can say it is for 5,000 or 5,500 and 10% discounts. Pricing levels, you can fix it. Okay. And also for the retailers, you can fix it. In the same way, you can fix the local price, export price, wholesale price, etc., etc. You can fix it. Once the price levels are fixed, then you can fix the same level to your customer also. So my 360 smart solution is my retail customer or a foreign customer or a wholesale customer, you can define. Okay, say for example, is my wholesale customer. In the control I, more details, I can say price level applicable for him is wholesale price or retail price. Now, whenever I'm selling goods to 360 smart solutions, the pricing will be as per the retail price chart. For example, I'm selecting the customer 360 smart solution. Immediately, the pricing levels will come by default. Even at this level, if you want, you can change. Okay, for example, for this 360 smart solution, I want to give it for wholesale price. If you want, you can fix it for wholesale price also. Now I'm giving a retail price for this product. Suppose you remember the price, and also the discount columns we have to enable from the F11 features. You remember the price. If this buying 50 and above, it should be like 5,000 and 10% discount. I'll disable the use separate columns also, right? I'm selecting the stock item and the quantity. Okay, I'm just mentioning the quantity 45. See, we have mentioned that if he's buying more than 50, it is 5,000 and 10% discount. Or let me change the quantity. One number. Just see the price. Automatically it comes 4,900. Okay. So, or you just mention 10 numbers. The price will change automatically. So I'm just changing the item once again for your display purpose. Just see, I'm just selecting the quantity, one number. It is coming as 4,900 and there is no discount. So similarly, next item I'm going to select. For this, I'm selecting 100 numbers. Automatically, the price comes as 5,500 and also 10% discount, right? So in this way, we have a lot of things to do with the Tally invoices. Okay. So I'm just mentioning the price list option. Even if there is any change in price list, okay, suppose from 1st of August, October onwards, the price list is changing, you can update in the price level settings. So automatically based on the date, based on the customer, based on the pricing level applicability, like wholesale, retail or export or import. For example, this customer says, sir, always you are giving for the retail price. Nowadays, I started buying huge quantity. Why don't you give it at wholesale price? Better you change it to wholesale price, either at the ledger or at the transaction level, you can make it as wholesale price. So if there is a price chart for the wholesale customer, that particular price will come to the particular stock item. Okay. So in this way, you can fix the price list. Of course, we are just demonstrating the possible solutions for the invoices in this session. There are a lot of things to discuss about the invoices also. As I said, you can do anything, whatever you want to do in the invoices through the F12 configuration itself, you can customize. Or if you want to make your invoices very attractive, you can do some TDL and you can do the programming on your exact requirement. Okay, like your company logo or the color pattern or the columns or the fields, whatever you want to change, you want to put a new information in the invoices, you can make it available. Okay, so I'm just thought of giving this information. The Asset Integrated Info System is having an academy called Asset Genesis House of Accountants, only for the accountants training purpose. So if you are a fresher, a BCom graduate, would like to update yourself on Tally, GST, TDS, income tax, or if you are willing to get job through us, you can reach us through the tallyhr.com also. Okay, so if you are a business owner, if you want to find a good accountant, you can reach us through hr.com. Also, we are available at the LinkedIn's. So if you are an accountant, get in touch with us for your next level job, for your training also. And still, if you are using the lowest edition, just see right top of your Tally screen, you can find some alarm button next to your F1. Okay, so that means you are using the lowest edition. Tally will advise you to go to the upgrade option. That means you have to upgrade your system. So the latest release in Tally is Tally release 5.1, which is in effect from 2nd December 2024. You will have a lot of additional information related to the GSTR1 filing. So better use the latest edition in Tally. Even I can show it from the Tally screen. See my Tally screen, the top you can find the alarm button. Okay, so that means there is some alarm, red color alert button is there. If I click into that, I'll get information. That means my system is not having a latest release. That means the latest release is 5.1. What I'm using is 5.0. Okay, so I'm using 5.0, but the latest release is 5.1. And similarly, my TSS is going to expire. So we have to renewal our Tally subscription, that is called TSS, periodically. So then only we can use our e-way bill, e-invoices effectively. If we are not doing a renewal of our TSS, then we cannot use the latest release. That means we are not going to use such Tally for the GST filing, for e-way bill and e-invoice generation, right? So thank you very much for all your participation. And in this session, we were discussing about the invoices of Tally and customizing the invoices, or whatever the options are available in Tally to generate invoices. We have a lot of things to discuss about this invoices. Even you can generate e-way bill and the e-invoices from Tally. Of course, you know very well in GST environment, the companies having more than 5 crores turnover are supposed to issue e-invoices. Okay, so some companies still they are not using the latest Tally edition. That means they are preparing invoices in Tally and they are going to GST and some other private portals and they are uploading it, then generating the e-invoices. That's a tedious process. Okay, so you may get into some problem, errors. Okay, to avoid that, use the latest release so that you can use invoices, e-invoices, e-way bills effectively from Tally itself. Okay, so thank you very much for all your participation. Thank you very much.